What's the worst piece of financial advice somebody has given you? When my mom said that she will hold my money for me as a kid. My grandfather was pretty wealthy and gave us $50, $100 each birthday. My mom kept it safe for us. I'm pretty sure she used it at least once to pay the light bill when the power got shut off, so at least it went to good use. Never saw a dime of it myself. At least you technically paid the power bill then. Just get it at Rent-A-Center. I had a coworker that got pretty much everything there. It's only $20 per week, and they'll replace it if it breaks. $20 per week for how long? Oh cool, so you're paying more than double for it? Got it. I still remember calling up a Rent-A-Center to see if it was remotely worthwhile to rent a computer of a pair of months way back in the 90s/early 2000s. It was a couple hundred a month, which was not even remotely worthwhile even my preteen mind. So when I was 24, I was financially struggling. I had a job that worked me a lot of hours, but only paid me $10 an hour. My parents talked me into buying a brand new 2004 four-door Honda Civic. The pre-interest price tag on it was about $25,000. A few weeks after getting it, my hours got regulated and it took one entire paycheck to make the monthly note on it. I could not afford the insurance on it. I very quickly realized my parents were bad at money. I think that's one of the hard things to swallow when it comes to growing up. Your parents might be crafty with money. I ignored a lot of my parents' financial advice and I'm so glad I did. They both made decent money, but borrowed against their house, bought cars they didn't need, and paid for other ridiculous things. They basically lived paycheck to paycheck. Being in my early teens and opening the front door to a bailiff/high court enforcer is definitely a low point in my childhood, but damn did it give me a massive preemptive sign to never listen to mom's financial advice. It's hard and sucks, but the sooner someone comes to terms with a parent who's awful at financial stuff, the better their own finances will be. My father would tell me to max my credit card on a new car, and if they ask for payments just say FM. What are they going to do? My father is several levels of debt held deep that he's trying to get out of now, but he's at least trying. What are they going to do? Send me to jail? But like what really happens? If you don't pay your credit card bill, expect to pay late fees, receive increased interest rates and incur damages to your credit score. If you continue to miss payments, your card can be frozen, your debt could be sold to a collection agency and the collector of your debt could sue you and have your wages garnished. Basically they take payments from your wages. I don't know what happens if you don't have a job. At that point the car you bought is probably also your house. I declare bankruptcy. My aunt took me to a car dealership when I was looking to buy my own first car. I was looking at the clunkers I could afford, but she said I should be looking at the new cars. She said, the total price doesn't matter because you make monthly payments. I suddenly understood too well why she had always been so financially unstable. I had a car dealer say this to me once when I asked the price on a 4 to 5-year-old car. That actual price doesn't matter, it's the monthly payment that you really need to know. Haha, I'm good mate, but cheers anyway. I walked away wondering how does he possibly sell any cars that way. But after reading this sub, maybe I'm wrong. I know a shocking number of people who are spending only 25 to 40% of their take-home pay servicing a finance deal on a shiny car. And when that expires, they'll get a new one. My fill when I mention our retirement plan, I never contribute to my retirement account. Money now is always better than money later. I needed to have a conversation with my husband how we would not be supporting his mom and dad and their insane spending when they have no retirement plan and make huge financial mistakes on a weekly basis. Good news is they both make good money. Sounds like someone who was taught ROR or IRR once and has misapplied it ever since. I wish it was that simple. I love my in-laws, but they are just doing the best they can with what they have. They had their first child at 15, my husband at 17, another child that passed away from a drug overdose, and their youngest is now 19. They are constantly in survival mode and now have custody of their 3 oldest grandkids. They have a slew of health issues and honestly can't see the future more than a month out, so planning for retirement doesn't cross their minds. Money slips out of their hands as fast as they earn it, but they do mean well. That an emergency fund wasn't necessary when you can always get a payday loan or use your credit card. He wasn't joking. Somebody needs to book this man's act. He knows how to generate interest. My cousin's car broke down and he didn't have enough savings to get it fixed. He took out a $600 payday loan. He's still paying it off. Almost 2 years later. How this crap is still legal baffles the F out of me. $1,000 on a credit card at 19.99% will take 26 years to pay off if you only pay the minimum payment. They are illegal in 12 states, but that is 38 states too few, in my opinion. Lots of the payday loan places are incorporated on Native American reservations. Even if all 50 states and the feds made it illegal, there would be several hundred places they could have a mailing address for their main office. Back in the 60s/70s, the mob was the only option for quick cash, and they actually charged quite a bit less interest than modern payday loan rates. I'm sure the prospect of having your entire family brutally murdered by the mafia helps secure the debt a bit better than a payday loan lender can, though. According to the episode of the podcast Behind the Bastards, which is my source for all this, they mostly stuck to slicing your finger with a razor. You can still work, but it will hurt like hell, and every time you use your hand, you are reminded of your debt. Anxiety, anxiety, anxiety. My favorite part of this entire thread is just you commenting about anxiety. One of my uncles once told me that I never really had to pay my phone bill. He suggested that I simply jump to another carrier and let the first company cut you off. His life has turned out exactly as you'd imagine. I used to know a guy whose family had always told him while he was growing up that the ER was free. He was getting his mail sent to his family home for years as an adult. One day he needs to buy a car and guess what? His credit is trashed. Family threw away his medical bills the same as they did theirs. The worst part is now I know the biggest hospital in our area has a very liberal charity program. If I recall correctly, you can get 100% of your bill dropped if you are uninsured and make under $32,000. Basically, this whole guy's family would qualify for that program if they just did a little bit of paperwork rather than just throw away bills. My now girlfriend told me about that when I was in with a broken pelvis and they forgave my whole $77,000. Stay because I worked at the Y and made like $9 an hour. I would have never known otherwise. What happened? Don't know. He stopped calling. Bah ha ha, you're more right than you know. Dude declared bankruptcy, got bailed out by my grandparents, went broke again, then people cut him off when he conned a few family members and friends into some kind of financial scheme that smelled fishy from the next province. Last I heard, he was mooching off some old lady in a trailer park in Florida. These stories always end in a trailer park in Florida. It's the origin story of Floridaman. I don't know how things are in other countries, but I'm in Canada, and my phone bill payment history is part of my credit report. I think in the US it's the same way. My wife had a friend whose family would do this with their home phone. They'd just started under a new name. Things were apparently more lax on the 90s. Hopefully not like my mom and use the names and social of her children, ruining our credit scores before we even reached 16. My best friend found out in our late teens she had a house rented in her name. This gives me anxiety. Hold on to those French francs, they will be worth a lot someday. I'm not holding my breath. Well, they probably will be eventually. In about 1,000 years they may sell for something good at auction if well preserved. You'll be quids in. Only if well preserved and rare. If a bunch of people keep a lot of them well preserved, no one will care about them. I totally misread this and spent the past 60 seconds figuring out how French fries could conceivably be a good investment. Once you cut up the credit card, you don't have to pay it. My cousin is not doing so hot. I'm pretty sure there are warrants out for his arrest in several states. I work for a bank. The amount of times I get customers tell me I just got a phone call saying I owe but I canceled my card. I tell them we never received a notice that they canceled it. And they say but I cut it up. Dude. If cutting bills up would solve anything, life would be great. Once you cut up the credit card, you don't have to pay it. Throw it in a lake. They can't trace that crap. Ricky, Trailer Park Boys. Like if credit cards had some kind of sensor. Just get another credit card. My friend who hasn't worked in 3 years and is currently just vibing with his new credit cards he somehow got approved for. A friend's family taught them to take out as many store cards and credit cards as they could, and as long as the minimum was paid, they'd be able to live a luxurious lifestyle. They were almost $100,000 in debt when they finally told me, from dozens of cards and interest, car loan, etc., then did not want to discuss it further after I offered advice, lawyer, counseling. It's simply how their parents lived, life on credit far beyond means. I could not live with that stress. It's so normal for some people though. Edit. Sorry I can't reply to everyone, I got like 100 responses and messages. If anyone is concerned about excessive debt, I strongly recommend the folks over at r/Personnel Finance who are experts at this sort of advice. For those in extreme debt, a bankruptcy attorney should be consulted to work out a repayment plan in court. Reddit link. Ugh. This comment makes me break out in hives. I would never be able to sleep with that kind of stress. The most stress-inducing part for me is that they probably feel zero stress about the situation. It's just a number on a screen. A great, paraphrased, quote says stress from loans only applies if you intend to pay it back. Also, if you owe the bank $100, that's your problem. If you owe the bank $100 million, that's the bank's problem. And if you owe the bank $100 billion, it becomes the taxpayer's problem. She was almost $100,000 in debt when she finally told me, from dozens of cards. Then she did not want to discuss it further after I offered advice. It's how her parents lived, life on credit far beyond means. She was not willing to live humbly to pay it down. It's her choice. I could not live with that stress. If you're that much in debt, for a lot of people there is no realistic way out short of bankruptcy. A not insignificant chunk of the country is living with issues large enough that the only way they can cope is by ignoring them and letting them fester. I used to live with someone who literally told me that if he just didn't pay his debt in 10 years it would disappear. I wonder if they didn't think of it as stress. Maybe in their mind it was more, if I just pay X amount per month, I get as much stuff as I want. Cool. Credit card company seeing application, no job, multiple credit cards, spending habits. Good enough. Alrighty, let's make some money. Approved. I remember when I was first building credit and being denied. I just saw the new one he got and wondered how? I also see the reverse of this often, where my friends in college were terrified of credit cards even though they were great with money. Then they get out of college with no credit and don't realize that it's important for every aspect of life, from apartments to car payments to utilities. I would spend a lot of time trying to explain why credit cards aren't necessarily the devil, and if you are responsible you can start building your credit early to get the jump on it before you leave college housing. When I got to university and opened a student current account, I received an interest-free overdraft of about £1,200. I wasn't entirely sure of what that meant. My brother informed me, so that's like your new zero, and encouraged me to use it to buy a new gaming PC. For the next few years I really wish I hadn't taken that advice. He's never been too amazing with his money, so I should have seen that one coming. Unfortunately, we have to learn the hard way sometimes. I maxed out a credit card once because I was like, damn, this is like never-ending free money. Boy did I feel dumb as F when my card was declined in a Miguel Jr. drive-thru. Can you explain the psychology behind this? I know it's really common, but I never understood it. Weren't you nervous about interest? Did you know they charge interest on credit card debt? Many people do not understand the idea of credit or credit cards. They see their parents, who can't afford a thing, swipe a plastic card and they get the thing. It must be like free money, right? The show Malcolm in the Middle has a great example of this when Reese is kicked out and he seems to do great once away from his controlling parents. Only to find out he put every expense on a credit card and was heavily in debt. I remember being a kid in the early 90s, I was like 5, and I was begging my mom to get us McDonald's. Back then pretty much all fast food was cash only. My mother didn't have cash on her, so I asked her to write a check so she wouldn't need money. She did humor me. She drove us through and asked the clerk if they took checks just so I could see they don't take checks. My mom says that when I was like 3 years old, she told me she didn't have money and needed to go to the bank before she could get us McDonald's. And I started sobbing, telling her to not spend money if she didn't have it. Anyway, I'm a frugal adult now, laughing out loud. I remember when I was working at the bookstore in college, students could get, I believe, also $1,200 a semester on their bookstore account as part of their student loan, and they would not buy books and blow it on food and clothes without realizing it was part of their loan they would have to pay off. It was seriously free money to them. And when I realized I could get an interest-free student overdraft from both HSBC and NatWest, that was great, until 3 years later. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.